November 8th, 2025. Well, we've got through the election on last Tuesday, and it pretty much turned out as I predicted. The only thing that was off a little bit was the New Jersey governor's race, where although I thought it would be a lot closer than it turned out, it seemed like it was just about very similar to what happened in Virginia, which was within a few percent, 2 or 3% of what I thought it would be also. Maybe the Democrats did a little bit better than I thought they would do, but let's face it, with all the government workers laid off and not getting and the ones that aren't laid off not getting paychecks that live in Northern Virginia, I thought that, plus the fact you have the normal rebound after a major win by one party, the other one tends to have a resurgence, just like Youngkin got in um, after Biden's win. So that didn't surprise me. In New Jersey, a little bit, although I thought there was a slight chance we might win it. I thought the odds were against it, but it might be close. Anyhow, and of course, Mondami got the mayorship of New York on the first ballot with just about a hair over 50%. But that meant that all the up down votes on the ranked choice thing wouldn't apply anyhow. Um, so anyhow, we're off on that scenario. There was always two ways that would go, and we'll get into that. So anyhow, that's kind of where we are. And meanwhile, the shutdown continues, and I guess now the Democrats are feeling a little bit of heat, even though they're on the other hand a little bit emboldened by the outcome of the election. But I notice now they're offering an end of sorts. So if they just extend the extra money for the Obamacare, uh, that for 1 year, that they would reopen the government. And so, as opposed to the original demand, if you recall, was a much bigger um, set of demands involving a lot of other issues. So that's progress, but it's not done yet. And of course, in a previous video, which I referred that the shutdown begins to bite. It's bitten now. I mean, people are getting bitten. You're having airlines are disrupted, travel's disrupted, flights are being canceled and scaled back, and more of that. Apparently, there's a. It looks like some people are not going to get the full SNAP benefits under the food supplement program. Um, I think a lower court had ruled that that they'd have to go ahead and fully fund it, but I think the Supreme Court just stayed that. I believe I just heard. So this will. So at any rate, I mean, if that would be an interesting precedent to discuss in of itself. So we'll get into that in this video. But if you like these items, please, give me a like. You can subscribe, of course, and of course, you can follow me on Rumble also. And click the bell for notifications on the YouTube also if you want. And so that's kind of where we are. I know there's another discussion I've gone through before on the whole idea that President Trump is raising this idea of ending the filibuster. Um, I'm against that just on a matter of principle because, but as I've been before, I also would point out as a practical matter, it isn't going to happen. I don't see the Republicans doing that unless the Democrats decide to vote for it too, uh, because our Mitch McConnell is still a senator, and Thune is his follower. I just think that there's too many traditional Republicans, the old guard people, that aren't going to vote for it, and every Democrat won't do it this time. They might do it when they get fully in power, as people suspect. They're not going to do it now. So I think that isn't really a way forward either. I think that what we have to do, unfortunately, is just let the pain sink into people finally demand that somebody do something. And that's sort of the course we're on, unfortunately. This may very well mess up a lot of people's Thanksgiving trips, actually, could very well happen. Um, uh, because we're not that far away from Thanksgiving here. We're 2 weeks out now. Is it 3? It's 3. So it's about 3 weeks out. So there's still time to get things back in order if we can get it done, say next week. I don't know. The Democrats are in a position where they really feel like they're very vulnerable if they cave, that would lead to a backlash, and everything they quote think they've gained would be lost immediately, and the base would get completely outraged if they flat out caved. Um, and the Republicans are still hanging pretty tough. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Um, Now, back to the elections and what their implications are. I still think since you had two Democrat states went Democrat, that doesn't prove a lot. In New York, I mean, given the choice of candidates there, they went for the goofball. But I mean, like I said, Cuomo was nothing to write home about, and Shiwa didn't have a chance. So that's how that goes. What is going to be important, though, is particularly retaining control of the Senate in the next election. That's where the real battle is. I mean, we'll try to keep the House, but I mean that one to me is kind of mission impossible. We'll see, but the Senate I think is mission possible. For instance, we don't know for sure exactly how things will play out in North Carolina. A lot could happen between now and then. Tillis, backing out wasn't positive. Then again, Tillis himself is not a lot to write home about. But on the other hand, you have to consider that he might be the kind of person that could win a state like North Carolina right now. I mean, the problem is Republicans are liable to nominate somebody that's so far right and so far MAGA, let's call it, that the person will lose. And they're going to have their incumbent governor there will be running for the Senate seat, I believe. So, and this guy has managed to kind of con his way into victory. So, on the other hand, I think there's a fair chance we might have a pickup in Georgia. I mean, I think that I don't think they have a particularly strong. They have a one-term senator coming up for re-election for the first time. I don't think he's particularly strong. So I think that if we could get a strong Republican candidate that's kind of moderate right. I mean, not hard right, but definitely conservative, definitely a team player type, but somebody who can wow over a few independents. I think that there's a chance of a pickup there to counterbalance that. I don't know. Maine, it's hard to know. You know, our incumbent there has managed to survive everything. She's a very moderate person, but I know conservatives are not happy, but I can assure you that that's the kind of person that could hold the seat. And remember, maintaining control of the Senate is most important. If you don't have control of the Senate, then they would have control and they'd be able to do things with it. Whereas if we have control, there's still a chance we can get things through one way or the other. And after all, it's just as much as Susan Collins is kind of not our favorite. Let's look at our great libertarian Rand Paul, who, on the greatest of possible principles, votes against us all the time. He is used for one thing, though, again, controlling the body, but I mean, remember that he's been voting for the shutdown too, right? So don't forget that. So because the continuing resolution just doesn't cut the budget enough, right? Because the Democrats, if they win, they're going to raise it a lot. So, and anyhow, yes, I fully believe that we're on a path for national bankruptcy. Don't think I don't understand that. But throwing gasoline on the fire right now isn't the answer either. So that's kind of the way I kind of see this, that we have a good shot at still potentially holding the Senate, I think. The House is going to be very problematic. I mean, let's put it this way. If Republicans actually retain control of the House in the next election, I would say it would indicate that we have to do something to really impress people, and we're going to have to do some better campaigning than we did in those two elections, but those were probably unwinnable. But I think some of these other ones could be. But my guess is the Democrats get the House. And yes, we'll have to sit through the impeachment of Trump and all that. I mean, again, but the Senate isn't going to remove him from office, regardless of what the House does, in my opinion. And so basically, the Democrats' fact by doing this may make enough of an ass of themselves that it might actually help us win the 2028 election. So, I mean, some kind of rebound like that could be to our advantage. I sort of think that Trump would have won in 2020 if it hadn't been for the COVID deal. And it was one of those kind of situations that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know, if you shut down the government, then everybody's out of work and they're ticked off. And then if you don't do it, then somewhat more people would have probably died. I wonder how many more really would have. If you go back to my coverage at that time, I did the comparison with Michigan versus Sweden, since both of which were kind of northern areas, maybe Sweden a little bit more so. Not latitude wise, but I think the climate there is still a little bit colder than Michigan. But Michigan can get cold, you know, and yet there was far more deaths in Michigan, given the measures we took, than there were in Sweden. So I kind of wondered, maybe if we hadn't done the big shutdown, we would have had the economy in better shape, and maybe it wouldn't have done as bad. But if COVID hadn't happened at all, I think we might have already won that. I think the impeachment of Trump actually might have been a negative for the Democrats in that particular year if it hadn't been for the COVID situation. So anyhow, that's kind of the way I see going forward on this deal, and we'll have to see if we can possibly get the government going before Thanksgiving so people can travel and have their family meetings and so forth. However, I also tend to have the viewpoint that whichever side actually wins the battle ends up being the winner, regardless of what people think right now. So anyhow, that's kind of my view on the subject, and we'll have to keep at it. As always, of course, I'll be putting this on YouTube and Rumble, and of course, the address of my social media accounts are in the description below. So it'll be all for now.